Funding for this program is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Hello, I'm Danielle with Our Town, the podcast for KSMQ Public Television. This podcast shares about events, businesses, and organizations in Rochester's and other happenings across the community. As summer approaches, the pandemic has started to stabilize, hopefully, and folks have been enhancing their spaces and enjoying more of the home front. Today, we have Samantha Erickson with the Rescued Room with us, and she's going to talk about the popularity of home organizing and trends occurring in Rochester. Samantha, welcome.
Hi, Danielle. Thanks so much for having me.
I am super excited to have you on here because this is something that is actually of immense interest to myself, but I know many people in the community. In fact, when I've posted on social media or shared about something I've done at the house organizing, people are incredibly interested in it. Pinterest has copious amounts of ideas on how to organize. So if you could share a little bit more about the Rescued Room, what was the inspiration behind it and what is being offered, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rescued Room was founded back in 2014 by owner Sarah Losi, and it started out as a one-woman show. She was just out to help simplify people's lives, and it was cleaning, it was organizing. It kind of took a life of its own from there because there's such an unmet need for that within the community and beyond, which we've absolutely seen in the pandemic as people are spending more time in their homes and just wanting to live a more simplistic life. And then you throw in shows like the Home Edit and podcasts like the Minimalist.
Those are so good.
It's so inspiring, and people don't necessarily know how or where to take the first step. It's very overwhelming. So we're here to support and hold hands along the way.
And how did you get involved, Samantha? Because you said it was a one-woman show and things kind of expanded from there, but I know that you were doing some other things prior to that. So how did you get involved and become interested in it too?
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting situation. By the time that I came on with the team, Sarah had grown to a few gals, so she was already kind of on the way. And I also had a little bit of a background. So I have kind of a dual background in office management and always was organizing. So, you're organizing the physical as well as helping organize people's schedules that way, all of the administrative things. And then my other part of background is visual merchandising. So making things pretty for customers while being functional for sales and for a storefront, so to speak. And I had just always in my own pastime loved organizing, putting things together, making things look nice, making home a sanctuary that it should be. And so I was doing personal styling and closet organization in addition to my full-time job for a few years. And when COVID hit, my office management position actually went away. And that same week that I got the news for that, I actually noticed on Facebook that Sarah and Rescued Room was hiring for a home helper, which is actually our cleaning division that continues to grow on its own as well. So I just inquired to find out a little bit more about her business, had heard the name before, but just never had really crossed paths. And so we hopped on a call as COVID times are and did a few Zooms, and the rest is history. Hopped on the team full board in June of last year and haven't looked back.
That's so cool. So can you share a little bit more about what services are offered? And then I want to know how the pandemic has increased the interest and impacted the Rescued Room too.
Yeah, and it did both very much. So Rescued Room in full offers home organizing, cleaning, and interior design. And really the premise behind that is to help simplify your life, enhance your home, make it a space you love and enjoy in a very simple, easy format. So as it grew organically with the cleaning, organizing, and design, they were all elements that bled into the other. When you're working with a client who's interested in one thing, they tend to maybe be interested in the other areas as well, because again, a lot of people are busy professionals, or, we all have that room or that closet, or at the very least, those few drawers that we just kind of don't know how to deal with. So we've pushed it off, and then it just becomes too much to feel like you can get started on your own. So between those three services, we can really help turn a home around and make it feel like a space that you're comfortable in. We always say we want your home to hug you, not harass you when you walk in the door.
Oh, I like that. That's perfect. Yes, and everybody wants that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that is where the twofold part of the pandemic comes into play, because you have people who are in their homes for more time than ever, and even starting to think about, what are reasons that we avoid our home. We may say it's meetings out, it's time at the office, it's being busy, it's, scheduling happy hour to see friends. And when all those things were eliminated and we were home, we were kind of faced with, okay, there was a reason why we were staying so busy all the time, and it's to avoid the chaos that we have going on in our home. And so there was a lot of interest in order, to help kind of grow the business. And with a pandemic and the safety factor, Sarah and the team really had to be creative with how can we meet this need in a safe way for our community.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because you mentioned, you're taking care of people's homes. You want the homes to hug those people. So with the safety guidelines, how did you guys navigate that and still address people's needs?
So a couple of things. The home cleaning specifically was deemed an essential service. So that was able to continue happening with those clients who felt comfortable with it. So definitely changes made related to temperature checks and masks and social distancing. Luckily, that's something that can be done very independently. So a lot of times clients aren't even home, and they're coming in and sanitizing every surface as part of the cleaning process anyways. So we were lucky to be able to maintain that leg in person. And then Sarah and Robin, who is lead organizer at the time, they were really good about pivoting quickly with digital services, mainly within the professional organizing. So they came up with a package that really helped mimic what we would do in person over Zoom or over a phone call, utilizing photos and video calls, walking through a home. And it's a little bit different, of course, but we've all been finding out that remote work is absolutely possible. And when it's necessary, we can actually do a lot with it. So the digital organizing was definitely something that we were able to take advantage of until it was safe for us to meet with clients again in person. And it really spawned an interest in what other digital formats we could grow into. So for instance, towards the end of the year and now here in 2021, we have been building on our workshops. So having a group format of Zoom call, something just like this, where we can be providing information for those who just really need that knowledge and some of the brainstorming in the process to get started, so that they can use the time that they do have at home to work through the steps. And then you don't feel like you're reinventing the wheel yourself. You still feel like you're supported. You've gotten advice from a professional, and then we're here to support along the way with questions or if you hit any roadblocks.
It can certainly be overwhelming trying to enhance a space. At the same time, people don't want to spend a ton of money replacing things with home decor or organizational things. How have you all utilized this popular trend of upcycling and restoring things and making it work in a home at the same time of enhancing it?
Yeah, it's so true. And especially with even now, products can be so difficult to come by. I mean, there was a while where you could walk into Target in the organizing section or the decor, and it was just as barren as the toilet paper section was.
People were all home doing their thing, man. They're organizing, getting things ready. So I can totally see that happening. The toilet paper was gone, though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Paper towels. I mean, our cleaning division had to get creative with
Wow.
sourcing out supplies, right? Luckily, we use more like microfiber cloths and stuff. But yeah, so we really try to work with whatever is already in the home as much as possible and getting creative with it. So between the organizing and the design, a lot of times it's this doesn't work in this space, but can it work elsewhere before we remove it from the picture completely? So a lot of clients have either bookshelves or cubbies, and they may not be the best quality. It's just something that's been more functional out in the open. As we're starting to pare down and minimize, can that actually be used inside of a closet, underneath a staircase? How can we use items in a way that's going to be much more functional? And then exactly as you said, upcycling other pieces. So adding baskets to bookshelves to make it more of like its own cubby system with enclosed storage that's a little bit more visually appealing for most than maybe open storage is. Or a lot of people have extra odds and ends, pillows, blankets, and things. How can we actually use those to create a visual design as well as being storage? So we've done like just simple hooks on the wall and hanging blankets in a family room. And it creates, it can fill up this blank wall with something pretty and meaningful to the family. And it's now storage that we've taken out of a closet so that we can do something else there. So we're always trying to keep our thinking hats on, because if somebody is investing in the time to work with us, we don't necessarily want to say, okay, now go out and spend hundreds of dollars on these, home edit storage containers and expensive furniture. We want to have maximum impact when we're walking out the door after a 4-hour session,
Yeah. And because before we talked about the Zoom sessions and making it more affordable, like by reusing things, because I always wondered, like, what was the demographic like before you guys added these changes, and how did that impact the demographic even with these changes?
Yeah, we definitely see a demographic shift between, before pandemic in person, a lot of retirees or empty nesters who have just collected quite a few things throughout the years, and whether or not they're planning on moving anytime soon, they've got kids items, they've got, again, if you don't move and you have the space, you usually end up filling it with something. And so we've had a lot of that demographic pre-COVID. And then now working into the more digital format, we're noticing more younger, busy professionals coming in who they just, they're using their brain power on other more important things, right? Like, we're really busy people. We have decision fatigue. Mental fatigue is real in this day and age. And so they just want a process and a starting point to be walked through, and then they can kind of work through it in their own time. So you're getting those who are maybe a little bit more self-motivated and like, I just need you to point me in the direction and I'm going to run. So it's been nice to have a couple of different options between in-person and digital that are complementary to every personality and capacity level.
Exactly.
What are some trends you're seeing in Rochester now?
A lot of refreshes. And by that, I mean, not necessarily gutting full spaces, like back down to the drywall and, rearranging spaces with walls and everything, but, a fresh coat of paint, maybe some new window treatments to go along with just kind of cleaning things up. A lot of people have been in that decluttering phase of just wanting to work with less, wanting less to have to manage. There's a really great book out there called The Cozy Minimalist, and the author describes us as becoming stuff managers, which is like the worst title I can think of for anybody ever. And so how do we step away from that? How do we have less things to manage? And so, I mean, I can tell you, because we offer donation drops for clients as part of our services, I have had my Subaru filled to the brim so many times that the people at Goodwill know me by name when I come in. So decluttering, minimizing is huge. Those refreshes, some fresh furniture. Again, the tricky part is right now, if you're trying to buy anything new, it's so much further out. So Danielle, as you mentioned, how can we get creative with what we have, and then thrifting? And
okay, I was going to ask about that. Was my next question. So that's perfect. Yes, let's talk about that thrifting, going and repurposing, and perhaps not buying new, but getting used. Go ahead and expand upon that.
Yeah, and it's a lot of client preference in style. There are certain styles that can be a little bit trickier to find thrift. And then depending on the timeline of your project, which has now kind of flip-flopped, if you go out thrifting, you do run that risk of, you have to be in it for the experience itself a little bit, because it's hit or miss, right? You may go out and find all the hidden gems, and you may go out and find nothing for your space that day. And if you do find something, you're bringing it home that day. So there's that bit of instant gratification that we can't necessarily even get from like Amazon or Wayfair right now, because products are sold out and you're waiting weeks, if not months, from a traditional furniture store. So we've definitely seen a rise in, if somebody's, okay with whether they like to do that shopping or whether they want us to go out and do that shopping, that we'll certainly go on the hunt for those items. And then Facebook Marketplace has just been huge. I mean, I've got clients, it's awesome. They'll shoot me a message like, I just found this on Facebook Marketplace. I think I'm going to put an offer in. 30 minutes, they're like, okay, I got it. Yay.
That's awesome. Do you also do businesses and organizations, or is it just residential?
So we mostly work residential. We do some business and organization work, and it would be smaller projects. So for instance, we think of a professional who has an office space that can be a second home in some ways, coming in and being able to help organize and refresh that type of area. Smaller businesses that maybe the commercial entities are out of budget, or, again, they don't necessarily want to do a full-fledged project. They need some tweaks and refreshes. A lot of times in those spaces, if we can come in and reorganize like the office supplies or like the break room, we can create so much space and a much better flow and routine for all of the team members and employees there. So that's really rewarding on that end.
For more information about this story and other Our Town features, connect with us on Facebook, Twitter at KSMQ #OurTown, or ksmq.org/OurTown.
Hey Rochester, it's time for another Our Town Rundown. The speed limits in the city of Rochester are going to be going down. Very shortly you will see signs going up for 25 miles per hour, and that is going to be the new default speed limit within the city of Rochester. This is going to make the entire community safer, as it has done around the country. Additionally, at the last city council meeting, the city council laid a brick. Or, more correctly, what they actually did is they took some steps to eventually allow a project on North Broadway called The Brick. This is going to be a partially publicly subsidized project that has 180 units of affordable housing right on North Broadway, additional retail facing Broadway. These are fantastic units at needed income levels that are going to allow people to walk, bike easily to downtown and create a more vibrant North Broadway. Coming up this weekend is the Rochester Area Builders Home Show. That'll be going on Saturday at Mayo Civic Center. It's one day this year. Go out and enjoy it, see what the latest is in home technology and what might be new. It's always a fun event. You never know what you're going to find there. Bring the kids, because there's always great swag. Also this weekend, Tomato Plant Girl, which is a live theater event from Rochester Civic Theater, will be going on Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It's going to be running for a few weeks now, between April 10th and April 25th. This is a program for kids, so if you get an opportunity to go out there, I think your kids are going to love it. Sunday at 1 p.m. at Canvas and Chardonnay, there will be a class on painting magical unicorns. It is geared for children ages 5 and up. What kid doesn't love to go paint? And I did confirm that children 5 and up do include 43-year-old former politicians. Lastly, on April 14th, one of my favorite local bands, the Fires of Denmark, will be playing at the Chateau Theatre, and you can live stream that from Riverside Concerts. I encourage you to tune in and see some of the great local talent that we have. Couple great things to check out locally. The loop around Cascade Lake is fantastic to check out this time of year. I encourage you to get out there and walk and bike around the lake. It's about 3 miles, and when you're done, you can stop by Thesis Brewing and check out one of my local picks for this week. It's a beer called Peep Show in honor of the Easter holiday, and that is available on tap and in Crowlers, and it's a Berliner Weiss sour that my wife absolutely adores. So I encourage you to get out there and support our local artisans. That is just a little bit of what's going on in the city of Rochester.
I know that our listeners and audience is probably curious about, well, what can I do at home right now? What are some quick tips and fixes that I can do at home to start the process? Maybe reach out to you all, whatever that is. But what are some quick tips that you can share that people can do right now in their space?
Yeah, absolutely. The very first thing that I recommend somebody doing if they're going to work independently is exactly the very first thing that we would do walking into a client's home, which is doing a full home walkthrough. Take inventory, grab your notebook, start to jot down about the things that stress you out, because we think a lot about these things, but we don't necessarily put it down on paper to say, you know what, out of every room, the office is really bothering me, or the entryway just really stresses me out. And I never realized that before. Why is it? So taking inventory of the space and how it makes you feel, as well as physical inventory related to where you have things stored. So something that I see in almost every client's home is scattered categories. So as an example, luggage. They may have luggage in a side closet. They may have another piece of luggage in the master closet. They may have luggage in an extra room in the garage. Can we pull all of the luggage together along with all of the other travel supplies to one area? Same with like cleaning supplies or back stock of any type of like health and beauty product. So many times working with clients as we start to actually go through the different closets and we find our light categories and we pull them together. They're like, you just paid for yourself, Samantha. We have shampoo for the rest of the year. And I know we don't need that anymore.
That is definitely a quick fix. I can immediately, when you said that, I was thinking, oh my goodness, guilty as charged. You know what I mean? I have bags and travel stuff all over the house. It makes sense to kind of take that inventory, assess the environment, and go from there. Exactly. What else would you add?
You recognizing purpose of spaces. So as you're starting to think of what you own, how you use the spaces. So in your entryway, is it that it's next to the garage and everybody goes in and out there? Or do you have an entry closet at the front door that hardly anybody walks through? So how do I use this space? And subsequently, what do I store here? Does it actually make sense? So if you're storing all your coats and gloves and shoes and umbrellas and everything in that front entry hall that nobody walks by, people are running back and forth. Things end up on the dining room table because it's somewhere in between. We need a place to like offload everything when we come into the house. Really starting to think about how you use each space in your home, recognizing that purpose and being able to shuffle things around accordingly. Like another quick and easy tip we recommend for every single person in that main to-go area, having a bin, whether it's just a laundry basket or a box that can store anything like a donation that needs to get run or returns that need to go back to the store, a piece of Tupperware that came over from your mother-in-law's and needs to be returned, having that in a central location right by where you go in and out of, so that as you're walking by, oh, I'm going to be near Target today, I can return those pants quick. I'm going to be over in this neighborhood, I can drop this off, donations, whatever it may be, so that you can get it, make things as streamlined for yourself as possible, because we can organize a space to perfection, But if it's not functioning efficiently within your daily routines, then we've kind of defeated the purpose.
What's the answer to laundry? Is there a solution?
You know, there's, depending on the family situation, there are a few different solutions, but I will say laundry and dishes are just a never ending uphill battle.
They are certainly a nemesis. Okay, let's pivot a little bit. It's going to get nicer outside. People are not going to be just confined in their homes. Have you worked on outdoor spaces? And if so, what have you done in that regard?
Yeah. So funny that you mentioned that, because yes, spring, definitely we start to get calls about garages because it's getting warm enough. We also get the calls starting about October because people are freaking out. They've packed things into their garage all summer and they need to get their cars back in before snow flies. So in the springtime, though, we're really at the point of transition related to, the activities that are taking place surrounding the garage. We're summarizing snow blowers. We're getting all of the landscaping things out. So garage in particular is a great area to just kind of go through and check if you have kiddos, for instance, are all of these outdoor activities things that are still age appropriate for them. If you're storing any winter gear in the garage, same thing. Before you pack it all up and put it in the garage to take out later this year, are these things that are going to fit the kids come fall, winter time? Or is it going to be that you can go ahead and donate it now, get it out of your hair so you're not storing it for another year? And again, thinking of ways that you can set up even your garage or an outdoor space to be super functional. So if you have a storage unit in the backyard, like a little shed or something, do you house all the kids, balls and bats and different things there? Station for barbecue type items, your charcoal. And then it's kind of almost that shift that we would do in our closet, so to speak, of let's get all the winter stuff up and out of the way. Let's get our summer stuff accessible. And it's always a really good time to, again, just assess, what did we use? I always have a hard time saying what did we use in the last year because it looked so different than years before. But being able to not just mindlessly, get out and put back. Anytime that you're moving something, it's an opportunity to say, do we use this? Do we love it? Does it add value to our lives? And if not, how can we let it go to bless someone else?
And I'm curious to know, are there any barriers that you've come across in organizing any space?
Oh, absolutely. We have some really, really dirty words in the home organizing world. That's should and might are probably the top. I should keep this because it was from my grandma who's passed away, but it's a yellow sweater and I hate, yellow looks terrible on me, or it's breakable china that we have stuffed up in a closet. So the sentimental piece, yeah, it's really, really hard for people to get around. And then also on the functional side, the might. Well, I might need to use this again. And so that's all,
I need both of them.
Definitely guilty too.
I might pick up this hobby. If you didn't pick up this hobby during COVID, you're probably never picking up this hobby.
Pick up that hobby.
Exactly.
And so we always ask those questions, do you love this item? What about it is sentimental? What about it brings value to you? Do you have other items like that to where you can let this one go? Pick your favorite 3 things from grandma, the 3 things that you can maybe actually display out in your home and really honor it versus shoving it up into a closet. I would say you're not honoring anybody's memory or the gift if you just have it shoved in a closet, right? If you can let it go so that somebody else can get enjoyment out of it, the experience of receiving the gift was enough as is. Once the gift has been given and you've gotten enjoyment out of receiving, they got so much enjoyment out of giving it to you, its purpose has been served. You have full permission to let that go. And then with the mites, I always think, if I needed to use this again someday, I got it once, I could get it again. How much mental fatigue, how much is it costing my brain and my energy to just keep this and manage it in the meantime? And if the answer is a lot, let it go and then get it if you ever truly need it again.
Amarachi, you just had one comment real quick, didn't you?
Yes, I was going to say, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I know when I was cleaning up my closet, I really had to ask myself, when was the last time you wore this? And I was like, I can't remember. I had to throw it away.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
absolutely. And
yeah.
it's funny, we wear something once or twice, and with the fast fashion and everything, we cycle through things pretty quickly, but we feel almost like obligated to wear something a certain number of times to get rid of it. Or when you're talking about that, like, when's the last time I wore it, is a great question. And then following it up with, when would I wear this again? When would I be excited to wear this again? And if you can't answer that question, out it goes.
That should be for everything, right? Anything you
Yeah.
bring in your house, am I going to use this? You know, how often, you know, what's going to be the ultimate outcome for this? Am I going to end up donating this later, so that you're not even bringing it in and having to go through all of that? Although we certainly don't want to put the rescue room out, you know, but at the same time, you know, it's such a good way to filter. Samantha, anything else you want to share about the rescue room and what's offered up?
You know, I'm just going to mention, Danielle, because I love that you just said that about with bringing things in. I think of that shifting from stuff manager to gatekeeper of your home, and letting, like, what you let in, you're going to have to manage. So being super diligent about that, I really love. And yeah, so Rescue Room's really excited for 2021. Like I mentioned, we've expanded so that we can just reach more people. You know, COVID or not, some people just enjoy a digital workshop more than they would having somebody come in and do hands-on work. And so we're really excited to be offering more of that. And then as well as offering more just workshops in general. So we've got like Byron Community Ed coming up on the 20th, and a lot of other opportunities. So no matter how somebody envisions themselves getting organized, we've got a service, we've got support to help accommodate that. And then you know, the cleaning and the interior design are just two really supportive services that, you know, we want to simplify your life rather than make it more complicated.
Well, the pandemic has certainly shown, I think, virtually everybody that our space needs more tender, loving care and focus, and to enhance it so that we can enjoy that space. And so the rescue room obviously seems very valuable to the community. We appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you so much, Samantha. And to Sarah. Sarah couldn't be here today, but I'm so glad that she was able to ensure that this happened.
Yes, thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you, Amarachi. I appreciate your time being here. We do. We believe your home should be a sanctuary so that you can prioritize life. There are many more important things than managing your stuff. So thank you both so much for the opportunity to chat about that.
Thank you so much. And thanks for tuning in to Our Town, the podcast. This is Danielle Teal, your moderator, and Amarachi Owakwe, our intern. She was fabulous, as always, asking the good questions. This has been a KSMQ Public Television show. Thank you to Annie, our producer. She sets everything up and makes us all look amazing. We appreciate you, Annie. You can catch us on Facebook or Twitter at KSMQ, #Our Town.